on your backs. Go ahead and just take that Shavasana position, that corpse pose, laying flat on your back. You can start with your knees up, and then as you feel comfortable, let the knees come down and just relax the body and just breathe. And then let's do just a short body scan, head to toe, checking to see if there's anything that you're holding tight. So as you breathe out, check your face and neck. Next breath out, check in with your shoulders and arms. Next breath out, check with your chest, your rib cage, your abdomen, and your low back. And then check with your hips, your glutes, your thighs. And then your calves and your feet. So before we get started, we're going to really focus on the back tonight. So take your hands and move them underneath your low back curve, where your low back curve should be. And just notice, do you have any space under there at all? Or do you feel your back completely on the mat? If you feel your back completely on the mat, then you likely have way too flat of a back. Hi, Maddie. So that's what we're going to use the towel for. Before we put the towel in there, if you could, oh, hi, Maddie. Okay, if you're new to class, my 16-year-old dog has a chronic sinus infection, so she coughs a lot. Okay, and sometimes she sneezes, which is why I'm asking her to go away. Okay, so wrap the strap around one foot and straighten your knee. And just gently bring your leg towards your head and just see when your knee wants to start to bend, and just feel what's happening in your low back. If your low back is still flat to the ground or has become flat to the ground, then your pelvis is tilting and cheating, and you're really not getting as much hamstring length as you think you're getting. So try to lift your low back off just a little bit and then see where you can get. Then let your low back come down and see what you can get. And then let's try it with the other leg, the left leg. So slowly bring it towards you and see when either the knee wants to start to bend or you have a pretty intense stretch on the back of your leg. So we're just experimenting right now. Okay, now let's go ahead, and if you noticed when you were laying down that your back was flat on the floor, then don't roll your towel up too far. Maybe even undo it all the way and roll it up. If you had a pretty good curve, then you can go ahead and maybe roll it this length and then put it under your low back curve. And it may move your back into a little deeper curve than what you're used to, but that is okay because we want to create a normal curve in the low back, but we also want to create some mobility in the low back. So let's go ahead and take our strap again. Start with the leg a little bit lower, like 45 degrees or so. And then with your back in a nice curve, notice what happens with how far you can bring your foot comfortably towards your head. And even with me deepening that curve a little bit, I can't go nearly as far. So my suggestion to people when they're stretching their hamstrings in this manner, which is a really common stretch that people are given, you're kind of cheating if you're letting your low back touch the ground, because that is not a functional position of the back. So we're going to come right to the edge here and just hold the stretch at the edge. And some of you may be feeling it more in your hip. Some people may feel it more in the back of their knee. Some people may feel it more low in their calf, around their Achilles. Wherever you're feeling it, try to just go right to that edge where you're not in an uncomfortable stretch. You still feel like you can relax your body. Just do a quick scan head to toe, see what you're holding tight, even check the left leg. We're going to hold it here. Let's go for about 5 more breaths. Make them nice, long, slow breaths. Okay, then let's let that go, and we'll put the strap around the other leg. And then, again, notice how far you can bring it up. Just stop right wherever your edge is and hold it there. And let's go with 5 more long, slow breaths in and out through the nose. If you can't breathe in and out through the nose, you might be pushing yourself a little too hard. Okay, let's let that side go. And let's cross the right leg over the left knee. And we're gonna bring the left foot off the floor so you can wrap your strap around the leg, or if you can just reach behind your thigh and interlace your fingers, you can do it that way too. So we're gonna gently pull that strap towards you, pull that knee, left knee towards you until you feel a stretch in the back of your right hip and thigh. And then again, try to soften what you don't need to hold this stretch. And this is also a very different stretch if your low back is pressing toward the ground. It lets the hip come forward and it looks like you're getting a deeper stretch, but you're not getting a functional stretch because the back is not in the functional position. And by functional, I mean the way we should be using our back in daily life and daily activities to really use it to its fullest potential and use it safely. Okay, let's go 3 more long, slow breaths. And then we will let that go. Okay, let's go to the other side. So you can bring your strap around your right thigh, cross the left over the right, and then bring the right knee towards your face. If anybody can get it to your face, I'd be very impressed. Scan your body again, make sure you're not holding anything tight, and then let's do 3 more long, slow breaths here, in and out through the nose. Okay, we'll let that go. We're going to go back to the right, lasso the right foot. We're going to bring it straight again. Now this time we're going to take the leg out to the side or in across the body a little bit. And what I'd like you to do is just explore as you're pulling the leg towards you. Go in and out a little bit to find a spot that really pulls a little more for you. So I find it pulls a little more when I come across my body just a little bit. So I'm going to hold it there. Soften your body. Five more breaths. Okay, we'll let that go. We'll switch out to the other side. Okay, same thing, straighten the knee, and then go a little bit in across your body, a little bit out. See what pulls a little bit more for you, what feels more therapeutic. And on my left side, it feels like a little more outside, feels right for me. You do what feels right for you. And try to soften your body. Three more breaths. Okay, we'll let that go. Okay, we're gonna wrap let's do the left leg. We'll go the strap, we're gonna cross over again. And then, whoops, nope, I did that wrong. Wrap it around the right, cross the left over the right. Pull it in, but this time rock a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left, and see if you can find a spot that pulls. And if you'd rather stay just in line, just stay in line, but life is not linear, so we need to go outside of those linear habits that we have with our movement and our stretching. Just stay right on the edge of your tension. Try to resist that urge of going too deep. Deep breaths. Okay, let's let that side go. We'll go back to the other side. So wrap the strap around the left thigh, cross the right over the left, pull that thigh, that knee towards you, and then rock right to left. See what pulls a little bit deeper, a little bit differently from last time. A little bit longer here. And then let's let that go. We'll put our straps down. And go ahead and roll to one side. We're going to roll all the way over onto our tummies, so you can take your towel out. Don't toss it too far. We'll use it again. So let's go all the way down flat on our tummies. So what I'd like you really to focus on right now is really softening through your hips and your low back and your shoulders, your whole spine. And most of the time, if people have any kind of a disc issue, most of the time, disc bulges are very common. Disc bulge doesn't necessarily mean you need to have surgical intervention, but you likely need to do some specific stretches, movement in order to coax that disc back in place. So laying on your tummy puts your low back curve in its most natural position for most of us, and softening through those spaces allows gravity to assist the disc to move back into the correct space. Sometimes if you can move your legs a little farther down, just kind of inchworm your hips and legs down, that can even provide a little gentle traction, so keeping your rib cage in place and inching your hips down creates that gentle traction through the mid spine to the tailbone. And then soften through the hips and thighs. So most of the time the discs will bulge out the backside. That's why gravity, it's important to traction and relax while laying on your tummy. And it tends to bulge out the backside because we tend to tuck our hips too much. We sit with a flat back, we stand with a flat back. And when we lift, then that kicks in all the muscles on the front and further opens the back of the spine. So what we're going to do next is come up onto our elbows. Coming up onto the elbows, again, deepens that low back curve, gently asks the posterior part of the vertebrae to come closer together, further nudging those discs back into the space that they belong. So we'll stay up here, still trying to keep your hips and thighs nice and relaxed. Shoulders relaxed, face relaxed. And we're doing a class tonight really focusing on the low back because it seems like there's been an epidemic of people coming in with back issues in my practice right now. And friends and family members asking about back issues. And I usually recommend if you're doing anything like snow shoveling or moving things, repetitive lifting, reaching, then the first thing you should do when you're done is come lay on your tummy. Let's go back all the way down, soften everything. This lets the spine open back up again a little bit. And then let's come back up onto the elbows. And if you can go a little bit higher, maybe go even a little bit higher by bringing your elbows closer to your rib cage. If you have your blocks handy, you don't have to do this now, but in the future, you can put your blocks under your elbows to come up a little bit higher. That kind of allows your upper body to still relax, as opposed to going up on your hands. That can be a little too deep for a lot of people. So just options for another time. Some of you might also be able to bend your knees a little bit and further deepen that curve, because that will tip the hips a little bit more. Long, slow, deep breaths. Okay, now we're going to roll on to your right side. I just put this stretch in the newsletter, so if this one feels good and you want to do it again, it's in the newsletter. If you didn't get the newsletter, let me know. Okay, so we're going to start with the right hip on the ground, the right hand on the ground. We're going to go down to the right elbow, and then we're going to take the hip that's on the ground and slide it a little bit away, and then roll the top hip, hi boo, the top hip, so our hips become as stacked as you can get them. And you might notice once you get your hips a little more stacked, you feel a lengthening from your right hip up into your rib cage. So for now, keep space between your right ear and your right shoulder. So you're kind of pressing into the ground and lifting your head up as you let that hip roll. Now take the bottom leg and stretch it straight. And what that's doing, it's pulling that fascial line that goes from your feet all the way up to your neck. It's pulling that line a little more tight. Next step is the top knee, the left knee. We're going to let that fall forward. If that's uncomfortable, then you can stack it up, or you can put a block or a pillow underneath your leg. Now let's let the right ear come down closer to the shoulder. You might be able to roll that hip up a little bit more. And then if you're not petting your aging cat, then let the top arm come either back or forward and see where that creates a better pull for you in this position. And then some nice, long, slow, deep breaths. So this is a really nice stretch if you have a bulge in the side of your discs. It's good for your back too because it creates the mobility. We need a lot of mobility in our spine to have a good functional spine. But if you've been told you have a little bulge to the side, this is a good choice. So we'll hold this for a few more breaths. Really fill the belly with air as you do that. You might feel a nice deeper pull through your rib cage, where your diaphragm attaches to your rib cage. And then when we come out of this, go ahead and pull that bottom knee up towards you, and then push yourself slowly back up. And then you can transition to the other side in whatever way feels good to you. You can roll over into the other side, or I'm going to switch directions so I can still face you guys. So go ahead and start by leaning onto that hand, coming down to the elbow, keeping the shoulder away from the ear, and then rolling your hips so you stack them up. Then we stretch the bottom leg away to put tension on that fascial line. And then decide, where do we want that top leg? Forward. As you can, get a pillow or a cushion or a block and support it. If it's too much to have it all the way to the floor, then we'll let the left ear come down towards the shoulder. And then the top arm can be behind you on your hip or forward. Boo, if you come over here, I'll keep petting you. Okay, again, while you're on this side, take some nice deep belly breaths. Feel how that pulls into the rib cage. Just keep checking your body head to toe, looking for any tension that doesn't need to be there. So we're addressing the back. Another comment I wanted to make. This is trying to create an educational session for everyone. We worked a lot on the hips. So there's an epidemic of tight hips in our culture as well because of all the sitting that we do, and we just don't squat. When we tend to reach down, we tend to bend at the waist rather than squat down. Consequently, we have really limited hip mobility in our culture. And if our hips aren't as mobile and flexible as they need to be, then something above or below has to compensate. So if the hips aren't mobile enough and we're walking or lifting or exercising, then our SI joint, our lumbar spine, our knees are going to have to compensate. And that's where a lot of people feel it, is in the SI joint, the lumbar spine, or the knees. A couple more breaths here. So working on the hips is important if you have low back pain. So let's bring that lower knee up. We'll slowly push ourselves up, and then we'll stay in a seated position. So go ahead and stretch your legs out straight. And if you have a really hard time stretching your legs out straight and sitting up nice and tall, finding that low back curve, then I'd like you to take your towel or some blocks or a cushion and set it under your tailbone. So if you find yourself kind of looking like this, then set up a little bit higher, and that will make it easier because I really want you to get your spine in that nice curve, that functional position while we do our twists. So we're going to add a little twist in here. Oops. Okay, so let's start by bringing the right knee up. We're going to really hug that knee in and find the low back curve. And if you want to stay here to do your twist, you can stay there. Some of you might be able to cross the foot over. That might be as far as you want to go. I know there's a couple of you that can take that bottom foot and then tuck it in towards the hip. But if you can do that, but you can't do it and keep your low back curve, then untuck the foot and keep going back until you can keep that curve, or sit up on your towel. Okay, shoulders down away from the ears. I'm going to turn myself so we can see a little bit more. Okay, so now the right hand, so we've got the right leg crossed over, the right hand's going to go behind, and then we're going to just bring the left hand a little more around that leg if you can. So if you're in the original position, it's going to look a little more like this. So go wherever your body allows you to go safely. So think about your right rib cage turning back towards your right hand, and just go as far as you can. Still sitting up nice and tall. Now scan your body. Face, jaw, neck, shoulders, belly, hips, thighs. Soften, but don't let go of that nice tall posture. Deep breaths. So now what we're doing for the spine is we're think about the visual of wringing out a dish rag. We're twisting and stretching and twisting the muscles, and we're creating some pressure. We're supporting the lymphatic system by moving the junk out. We're also pressing the blood flow out, so as we let go, there's going to be more of a rush of the blood back in. It's a bit of a myth that the heart does all the work for circulation. It's the pumping of the muscles that really pulls the fluids in deep. Okay, while we're staying here, every time you breathe in, think about getting a little bit taller. Every exhale, think about softening. Let's turn the head to the left. And turn the head to the right. And then let's soften out of this pose. So let your legs untwist wherever they are, coming back straight. And then rock them side to side just a little bit. Doing good time-wise. Okay, let's pull the left knee in. Hug it in, see if you can find that low back curve. If it's a challenge here, again, sit up on your towel. Okay, cross over. Can check and see if you can still keep your curve. And then tuck that leg in. See if you can keep your curve. Okay, so the left ribs are going to turn back. Left hand's going to go back behind you. The right hand can stay where it is or wrap a little bit farther around. We're not using our hands to force our twist. We're just using our hands to support the twist. So nice and tall, and then soften. And then let's look to the right. Let's look to the left. And then we'll slowly soften out of our pose. Okay, let's put our towel back down under our low back curve. So if you think you can build it up a little bit more this time, you can give that a try. This reminds me of sleeping. The cat is always where I want to be. Okay, have your strap handy. We'll go back down onto our backs. Okay, we're going to do a laying down twist. I'll take that back. We don't need our strap. Okay, we're going to cross the left over the right, and then we're going to tip to the right. And just go as far as you can comfortably go. Try to soften through your hips and thighs as you twist. If you need to put a pillow or something under your knees to support you so you feel more comfortable, like you can let go. Sometimes your body will let go more if it feels supported. Okay, let's slowly come back up. And then we'll uncross. We'll cross right over left and then drop to the right. Boo, you're totally in my way. And once you're in your twist, soften. Okay, then let's slowly come back. Towel under the low back curve. And let's lasso the right foot and just see if you can notice if you can get a little bit farther with your hamstring, with the towel under your back than you could when we first started. And then check the same thing with your left. I definitely can. Okay, excellent. Okay, so let's go ahead and go into our final resting pose. You can decide if you want to keep your towel in place or not. I think I will. And then stretch out into your Shavasana, your corpse pose. Pressing your heels away from you, making yourself long from the top of your head to your heels. And let the arms open up, palm up. And then relax the body, let the feet fall open. And start to find your breath in your belly again. And start focusing on making your exhales a little bit longer. On your next exhale, soften through your face, neck, shoulders, and arms. On your next couple exhales, soften through your head, shoulders, arms, chest, and back. Next exhale, soften through your head, face, neck, shoulders, arm, chest, back, hips, and thighs. And on your next few exhales, soften from your head all the way down to your feet. And just do a couple more exhales, softening, and then start thinking about bringing yourself up into a seated position. Any seated position that feels good to you. Now we did a lot of deep stretching for the hips and the back. So when you do a lot of deep, long-held stretches, that really lengthens the collagen. And if you notice that you could definitely get more hamstring stretch at the end, then you have lengthened your collagen. Congratulations. But that can actually make you weaker for 24 to even 48 hours. So try to avoid doing any heavy lifting or really heavy activities during that time. You probably won't hurt yourself, but just being cautious. Okay, so let's go ahead and take one more nice big breath in together, sweeping the arms up, coming down through prayer hands, stopping at the heart and wishing one another namaste. Thank you so much for joining me this evening, everyone.